What is going on, investors? Welcome to my channel. This is the Frugal Investor. I really appreciate everybody who likes, who's subscribed, and who watches my videos. It really means a lot to me, and I really try to do my best to bring as much value as I can to you guys that are watching. In this video, I am going to show you guys how I saved $100,000 by the age of 24. With that said, let's get right into it. My story, it begins at the age of 20. 20 was a crucial year and age for me. That is when I moved to the United States from India. I come from a very poor family from very humble beginnings. When I moved to the United States, I had $400 in my pocket and I had a bag full of dirty clothes. My first 2 weeks in the United States were not good. I lived with my relatives who were really not happy to keep me there, who really wanted to kick me out. I lived there for 2 weeks until I landed my first job at McDonald's. McDonald's was my first job, and I was so grateful. I was so happy for that job. I was happier than the CEO of Amazon. I was so grateful. Once I got my first job, I left that place, left my relative's house that I was living at, and I started living at McDonald's. I used to eat at McDonald's, live at McDonald's. That was my home for 1 week until I finally talked to enough people at McDonald's and found a basement. There was a guy who agreed to let me crash in his basement for $250 a month. And that is when I found out that if I talk to enough people, I can get what I want. So that really encouraged me to be more friendly, be more talkative with people, get to know more people, networking, the power of networking. Once I moved into that basement, I got my second job at Home Depot. So I would work in the mornings at Home Depot, and then I would do the afternoon shift or evening shift at McDonald's till late at night. Sometimes I would work overnight as well. The days I was off from Home Depot, or sometimes I would work overnight, sleep at McDonald's, and go to Home Depot. That is how I lived the next 6 months of my life in this country. The walk from McDonald's to the place that I was living at was not easy. I had to walk in deep snow sometimes, at 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at 12 o'clock at night. It was not easy, but I did it anyways. I did it for 6 months until I decided to buy a used car from the owner of the house that I was living in for $1,400. It was a 1998 Honda Accord. That was my first car, and I felt so happy. I recently got my license and I got my first car. Wow, I was killing it. I lived there for maybe one more month after that. I rented out a bigger basement, much better living condition, for $800 a month, not far from where I used to live. Now, I lived in that basement for $800 a month for the next 2 years. And I worked McDonald's and I worked Home Depot. And after like 1 month moving into that basement, I moved my job to Burger King and I became a assistant manager at a local Burger King. So I was working at Burger King, I was working at Home Depot, and that is what I did for the next 1 year or so. When I was working at McDonald's, I worked there for almost close to a year. I was saving everything. My monthly paycheck from both McDonald's and Home Depot was somewhere close to $3,000, and I was saving at least $2,000 to $2,200 every month. By the time I bought my first car, I had close to $12,000 in my bank account saved. That was, I call it shotgun money. You would have to shoot me in the face to get that money because I was not touching that money. The first 6 to 7 months in this country, I had $12,000 saved. I worked at Burger King for 1 year and I worked at Home Depot as well. Together, I did two jobs. I did that for 1 year, and in that 1 year, I was saving everything. Everything that I was making, I was saving it. And by the end of that year, I had about $34,000 saved up. At this point, I was close to 2 years in the United States and I had $34,000 saved up. During this time, I was constantly figuring out ways to start a part time business, to find out ways to invest money into real estate, to find out ways to build my credit score. I was constantly learning stuff. My favorite channel to watch during this time was Graham Stefan. Graham Stefan was my was a huge inspiration for me to build up my credit score, to know more about how to use credit cards, to know more about how to save more, how to invest, and he gave me a very strong basic understanding. I also watched a lot of Warren Buffett videos, and that is how I got interested into the terms of like financial independence in long-term investing, compound interest, credit score, real estate, and all these terms. Or investor, basically I was building my base as an investor. How can I invest my money to make it work for me? I knew how to save money. That was not my problem. I knew how to talk to people. That was not my problem. My problem was how can I invest this money? And I wanted to make myself so strong into investment game that I can, get at least 10 to 11% return on my money instead of the merely 1% that I was getting at Capital One Bank, where I had my savings account at that time. That is when my banker that I used to bank with, who helped me open accounts, who helped me set up my credit card, my banker introduced me to the manager at the bank that I was banking at, Capital One Bank, and she asked me to give an interview and apply for the job. And I did. And I got hired. I started working at Capital One Bank. That was my first job in corporate America. And that raised my salary from 36 to 38,000 per year to 60,000 per year. So at Burger King and Home Depot, I was making 37,000 on an average every year, and now I was making $60,000 a year. That was a huge bump in my salary. And and I did that for 1 year. I worked at Capital One for 1 year, and at this point I had close to $65,000 saved. After 3 years of being in this country, I had $65,000 saved. One thing I learned from Capital One Bank is all the people um, who are financially successful or who were like well made, they had investments. They had investment in real estate, they had investment in funds, they had investment in stock market. All of them were investors in one way or the other. And most of those people, they were working on making themselves better. They were hungry for more. They were not satisfied. And that is what I learned from working at that job. And I made some valuable contacts, from that job, people that helped me move up ahead in my career. That after leaving that bank, Capital One Bank, I took a vacation for 1 month. I went to Colorado. I had a good time. During that 1 month, I decided that I am ready to start investing. And that is when I took $20,000 of my own money from my savings. These were the companies: Microsoft, Apple, VYM, and Home Depot. I invested in these four things initially. $20,000. That was, I was so scared. I was so nervous while putting that money. I was like, oh my God, what if I lose this money? I worked so hard for this money. But I did it anyways. Now I had $20,000 in investments and I had close to $45,000 in my savings account. And I had been in this country for over 3 years now. I moved to a different bank after I came back from vacation, and that increased my salary by close to $9,000. Once I moved to that bank, I started looking into real estate. And at the same time, I was increasing my savings. I was saving close to 60 to 70% of my income. I started looking into real estate, and in the beginning of, at the end of 2019, I bought my first property. It was a normal property, regular fixer, needed some work, needed not too old, but needed some work. I did that. I paid down almost close to 8% down payment, and I had a mortgage insurance, and I bought that property. And as soon as I moved in, I started renting out the rooms. I rented out two rooms separately and then one basement separately. I was living in the property literally for free. I lived for free. I didn't pay anything out of my pocket. That reduced my monthly expenses by $800 every month. And by the end of 6 months of living in that property, I had been in this country for over 3.5 years, close to 4 years, and I had close to $100,000. I was very close, but I was not there yet. My goal was $100,000. I was so close, but not there yet. And I kept on saving, I kept on fixing the property, doing minor things over here and there, and I invested more and more money. Instead of keeping money into savings account, I started putting more money into the market. And Robinhood was my platform of choice. And I was doing that, I did that, and slowly within the year of 2019, after 4 or 5 months after buying my property, I touched my first $100,000 in savings and investments. That is how I did it. With a normal job, saving most of my money. I come from a very poor family and I'm very frugal, very minimalistic. And that is what helped me. The first 100,000 I felt like was the hardest. But now my goal is 500K and I feel like it is hard as well. I'm not saying it's easy. But the first 100,000 generally is the hardest. And for me, it was really hard. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of working hard and working overtime. But I did it. There were a lot of up and downs. It was not all smooth ride, oh, growing, everything. No, there were a lot of up and downs. I started a company. I lost a lot of money in that company with my business partner. I lost almost close to $8,000. It was just a goal. It was a part of a long-term vision. It's not like I have made it and now I'm going to relax and chill. No, no. It's part of a long-term vision of financial independence, not having to work for money. Okay. And during this time when I was investing more and more money, I got in touch with the channel of Jeremy from Financial Education and other YouTube channels, that taught me a lot about how to analyze a business, how to read income statements, how to read balance sheets, you know, what do you do, what do you look for in a business, what do you look for in the CEO. Okay, those are the things that I learned from Jeremy from Financial Education. He's played a big part in me making me an investor, okay, making me a better investor in analyzing businesses. And that is a skill I picked up from there. And I was a big fan of Graham, Stefan, Jeremy from Financial Education. These guys, I learned a lot from them. And so, and also, real estate people. A lot of real estate people that I watch are Ben Mala, meet Kevin sometimes. These are the people that I learned a lot from. YouTube is my main source of learning, and I'm always learning. I'm always curious, to learn more. It was not instant. It was a lot of hard work, man. It was a lot of hard work. It was not instant. It was not easy, but it was worth it. And it's part of the long-term vision. You cannot stop until you reach the long-term vision, which is financial independence for me. How can someone do it? In my opinion, being extremely frugal, not having fake relationships or fake friends, not focusing on anything until you reach your goals. Being extremely frugal, aligning with people who think like you, who have the same goals as you, who want to be successful in life, who are curious about learning more things, learning new things, those are the things I think that if one does over the course of 4 or 5 years, good decisions, you can really, really win and you can really make a lot of money in America. That's why everybody wants to come here. I think it's really not hard to make a lot of money in this country. There's so many opportunities. All you need to do is just be curious and be willing to work hard and be willing to do whatever it freaking takes. Whatever it takes, never back down from your goals. And that is how I did it, and that was my story. And I think everybody can do it. Ever forward. This is the Frugal Investor signing out.